welcome back to another director review. All right, today we have a little bit of a different one. It doesn't follow any of the normal themes that we do, so it's gonna be a little bit different, right, Celeste?
We're in for a ride.
We're in for a ride. So was it a few weeks back or last week? I don't know when things happened.
I feel like it was...
It was a few weeks back.
No, it wasn't, because it was Thanksgiving week. We did it the week before.
It was November 18th.
Yes.
November 18th. We went on a road trip, which we documented a little bit on our Facebook page. We went to LA. We went specifically to a showing of a movie that hasn't really come out yet. It's kind of just doing a short release across the country, but it's a documentary about an incredible actress who influenced so much in the industry for women, named Rosemary, and the documentary is called Wait for Your Laugh. It was absolutely incredible. Mind you, the trip itself was quite the journey.
It's always a journey of 3.5 hours.
More importantly, nearly peeing yourself on the 405 and then finally getting there and being afraid that you're going to miss the movie because you nearly peed yourself.
That's when I knew I loved him.
So yeah, we headed out to Hollywood to the Egyptian Theater where we finally got to see this film. It's being shown in very specific theaters simply because of how it's being shown, which is on 35 millimeter stock. So it's not digital, which completely goes against the theme of our show entirely because we do streaming movies. This thing is so far from streaming. It doesn't even have the capability yet.
We went OG on this one.
We went OG, but there's a good reason for it. There is, because this film, on the same guise that we love indie films, this is as indie as you're going to get. And more importantly...
Indie documentary.
Yeah, it's an indie documentary. And more importantly, it's a story that should have been told a while ago, honestly.
I don't know why it took so long.
It's one of those things where I feel like she was just like Jason Wise, the director, said this incredible person was just sitting. This incredible story was just sitting in Encino, California, for 80 some years. And that's just kind of the truth of it all. It's just sitting there waiting for it to be told.
She just wants to work.
Yeah. All right, so what's it about, Celeste? It's about
Rosemary.
Rosemary, baby Rosemary, also known in the 20s.
Yes.
In the 20s.
So this was an amazing...
Of course, you all know, in the 20s.
Yeah, exactly. The 20s, the good old days. I mean, she started off as a radio star.
As a child singer, as a child star. One of the first. No, not the first, but one of the...
Before Shirley Temple.
Oh, yeah. Much before.
And she was in a couple of shorts as well. Yeah. A couple of talkies.
In the Vitaphone stuff, and always that little thing that they would do before the movies. So that's pretty cool.
And she had this powerhouse voice. I was like a 3-year-old.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the craziest thing. So in this documentary, they would show clips of baby Rosemary singing, of the few that they have. You would not guess that she was like 4, 5, when it felt more like, okay, maybe 10, maybe what they say, they had to, someone busted in saying, that's a 42-year-old midget you have there. It kind of felt that way.
No wonder they took her on the road. That's
Honestly.
The whole reason they took her on the road, because people didn't believe that this was a little child.
Yeah, and mind you, as her career goes on, she goes from singing to acting, Broadway, television, movies. You would most likely know her from the Dick Van Dyke Show. Where she played opposite Rory Amsterdam, a childhood friend since 11. And, of course, Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah,
Come on.
of course.
And Rob Reiner.
Our beloved Sally.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. She's incredible. And she is such a spitfire. Like,
she is.
Once again, the director said the best part where he's like, here is this 30-year-old woman trapped in an old woman's body. Because all she wants to do is work. She just wants to show people how to do it.
Yeah, she says no one can do a good show these days.
Absolutely. So, all right, well, let's talk about this film a little bit. It's absolutely incredible.
Because it spans her entire life.
It does. And, I've seen a ton of documentaries. I am a big fan of documentaries. I love anything that really tells a story of show business or something that you don't know. Particularly something that was maybe so important and influential that you should have known, but for some reason it just falls away because everyone
Just
else
flew under the radar.
yeah, everyone else kind of encapsulates it and then takes it over, and then someone else gets the glory of it all. And for this, she was the premier woman.
She did it all.
She I'm trying to think in particular. I mean, first off, her role as Sally on the Dick Van Dyke Show was a big deal because she was a woman in the writer's room. Not just a woman in the writer's room, but a single woman in the writer's room.
A bachelorette.
Who would handle things, who would be like one of the guys. Like, she was in scenes with these two other guys holding her own more so than ever. She wasn't the put upon person. She wasn't the doubting so-and-so. This was an equal. And that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of people credit Mary Tyler Moore for that girl, you know?
Yeah, they're like the working girk.
But it was really
But it was
Rosemary.
Sally.
It was Rosemary on the show before Mary Tyler Moore got her start as, that girl. So, and mind you, now in the documentary, they actually point out that those two had a bit of a contentious relationship. Not like they hated each other or got into fights, but that they kept it professional because Rosemary was told when she was getting this part that it was going to be about writers. Just about writers, but it ended up being about, the life of Robert Petrie and his wife.
Yeah.
And their son.
It was Robert Petrie's life, and they were just living in it.
Yeah, and so I don't even know where to begin. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is just how the storytelling went, because there's so much to go over in her life, and we're going to limit the amount of stuff we're going to say. Normally, we would just talk and just go with it, and whatever we talk about doesn't really matter because you can choose to watch it, choose to listen, whatever. This is such a limited showing that it hasn't come out yet. I'm hoping it'll come to a streaming service soon, and then we can give you that update so that you can go out and watch it yourself, or that you can check out the rosemarymovie.com or waitforyourlaugh.com/showtimes, where you can find out if they're in your area. But we really want you to experience this movie. Like, that's the goal here, to encourage you to go to social media, go to the website, and actually find a Showtime and watch it. So we're gonna touch on some really cool points, but we're probably not going to tell you everything because we want you to go. But one in particular is that she was hardcore in the mob.
It's a gangsta love story.
Yeah, and
about a strong, independent woman
who was protected by the mob, and she didn't think anything of it.
It was just another day in the life of Rosemary.
Yeah, I mean, it started all the way back to Al Capone, who loved her as a child star, who loved her singing and just the way she was, all the way through the major crime bosses that created Vegas. So that's insane. And she was a big reason for Vegas. Not saying that she built Vegas or created Vegas, but that she was one of the first acts
But she
there.
was at the Flamingo opening night.
Yeah,
So.
which was basically the only thing on the strip besides a couple of other lower level stuff.
Exactly.
And it was the Flamingo that started it all. And it was those I believe it was the East Coast mob, right?
I think it was the East Coast mob.
Anyways, the mob in general.
There's a difference, Leonard.
And well, yeah, sorry. And here's the thing. She would always cross paths with people right before they get whacked because she would just do things or say things and just kind of talk to them. And then a few days later, bam, they're dead because, this is the mob and they were behind on their payments or something. And it would end up that way. The storytelling from beginning to end absolutely encapsulates her life perfectly. I think it's because she's never had a non-grand moment. Yep. Even when she was young, it was grand, it was big, and it stayed big throughout most of her career. But it's when you get to the end that it just breaks your heart because here's a woman who just wants to perform.
She is a performer at heart. She's the original, triple threat. You know how the Disney
yes.
Channel stars, they have to sing, they have to dance, they have to act. She was like, I'm the original.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm here.
And I feel like, and chime in with this, because I feel like the director almost, when he was, because we, at the end of the movie, they actually did a Q&A with Jason Wise, Dan Harmon, the creator of both Community and Rick and Morty, and of course, the amazing, incredible Dick Van Dyke, who was her co-star for so many years.
And who's still dancing on those
Who's
rooftops.
still dancing. Good God. I can't dance now. I'm 28 and he's in his 90s. I have failed.
Better than you.
But I feel like the director had so much passion in this project and wanted to do so much with it that maybe he didn't even touch all of it. Like, I'm sure there was more, but
Absolutely. She lived such a full life. How do you pick and choose?
right. How do you choose where to start, where to end? Because, you know, her relationships, both like her personal relationship with her husband, and her relationships with all the people she met, including, for some of you that are a little more into the older actors, you will know. I have forgotten his name, Celeste.
Oh,
I'm
God.
stalling. I'm stalling.
You're failing as a human.
I'm failing, and I'm looking at pictures right now, trying to go, which one was he? No, I know what it is. It's I need to see his face. Oh, nope. Seeing his face didn't help.
Still drawing a blank.
Yeah, but she did discover like a pretty big way. Tim Conway. Tim Conway.
I love how in the documentary, spoiler, they have Tim Conway and underneath it says discovered by Rosemary.
And that's pretty much all they touch on that.
I'm like,
I may
how
have missed
did
it,
you
maybe.
discover him? I
Yeah.
have questions.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm sure there's more to that story. Like, where was he? Was he in a comedy club? Did he like just appear on a lot somewhere? And she was like, "You," because I could see that. I
would
could see
happen.
that. Specifically with her, when she saw something, she liked something, she went for it. There was no stopping her. There was no saying no to her. It was she was going to do it regardless if you liked it or not. Now, she had a bad relationship with her father, and he was a horrible person, like mean to her by that stance. But she still was this fire, this absolute fire and passion that would just go for something. Like, I mean, was it her comments that got her dropped from a movie?
From Top Banana.
Yeah, which was a bad movie anyways, but
Because Rosemary was
in my
cut from
opinion,
it.
in my opinion.
Obviously, that's why it was bad.
Absolutely. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
It's not that it makes no sense at all.
Maybe we have to see the Broadway production.
The Broadway production. Sure, we'll go back in time and try to find the Broadway production, and then we'll decide if the film just doesn't encompass the banana-ness. There's
Top
no banana
Banana.
in Top Banana, but anyway. So
There's no banana?
it's
What's
a
the
long
point?
story. It's a long story. Anyway, so I feel like, this was a passion project. You can tell. You can absolutely tell. But we need to talk about the love story. We have to.
First of all, I love his name.
Bobby Guy.
Bobby Guy.
Bobby
What
Guy.
a guy.
She met him when she was doing something with, I believe, the USO, correct? I think so. Well,
Yes,
anyways,
I
he was
believe so.
a soldier.
He was in the service.
Yeah, and he was a trumpet player in the service. It was a chance meeting. She would first deny having any feelings for him, and then immediately just fall for him.
Can't relate.
And she would even say, that's the guy I'm going to marry. And I think her friend was like, that guy?
That guy?
Really?
Kind of
But-
chunky, that guy.
I love how everyone pointed that out in the movie. Everything. It didn't matter who it was. If it was Dick Van Dyke, if it was Rob Reiner, if it was her, they would all say, he wasn't fat. He was big. He was a big guy. But he was a trumpet player, even for Gene Krupa. I mean, he wasn't
The lead trumpet player.
right. He wasn't known, although he was the lead trumpet to start the Bing Crosby show, which is terrifying enough because every night you get ready to go on air, on the radio. This is Bing Crosby. This isn't,
Don't screw it up.
this isn't some little hokey show. This is Bing freaking Crosby, the top of the top back then. And here you have the first note being belted out, and on top of that, the one that they actually played for for us was the one that Rosemarie was on. It's like he had
an artist in his own right.
yeah, oh god,
The guy was amazing.
Apparently in the way everyone described it is like he was just this incredible musician, incredible person, and
Incredible husband.
absolutely in love.
How did you not tear up at their love story?
But seriously, I mean, they would show color footage of literally all of this stuff that she was doing, whether it was Dick Van Dyke Show and rehearsals, just like him, it was all him. He would take a camera to every rehearsal and go to every rehearsal because he loved his wife so much. He would go every single time.
I'm
It's
pretty
like,
sure my husband doesn't even love me that
I
much.
wouldn't do that if you paid me.
You have a camera on your phone.
I have a camera on my phone. And the only thing I would do is sit there and go, oh my God, are you done? So
we see the love was real here.
we see that Bobby is a better husband than me. I get it. That's fine. Different time, different ways. I'm not ashamed.
But a little ashamed.
I think that it was such a beautiful story. Mind you, he passes away young. Absolutely breaks her. Near the last season of the Dick Van Dyke Show. And it actually causes her to start wearing a bow. Well, I mean, she's always wore a bow in her hair, but only black now for him. And it's like,
My heart's breaking all over again.
yeah. And this movie goes from gangsters to heartbreak so quick. And I feel like that is almost a title for her life. Because she is one of the few actresses dating backwards, even to now, where there isn't a giant tragedy. It's not fraught with alcoholism or drug abuse or anything like that, or multiple husbands. She had one husband her entire life. She was not, I mean, obviously I'm sure she drank, but she wasn't an alcoholic. She didn't live a bad life in any which way. She just lived to perform.
Yeah.
She
You would
just
think
lived to
that would
perform.
gain her more notoriety.
You'd think, right? Come on now. But she did have an incredible career. Not to say that your career should ever stop. And I think this movie brings that kind of like forward in your mind a little bit. You're like, listen, I get it. You know, these older actors, maybe they're not as quick as some of the others or some of the new ones. But your career should never stop because it's so heartbreaking. You were a part of something. And unlike all of us normal people, we have no like physical recollection of this, but they do. They have their greatest moments, their youngest selves, their best selves, all captured for them to remember. And it's got to be a bit of an out-of-body experience where you're sitting there going, here I am at the top of my game, and here I am now watching from this point. I'm looking up to myself, and that's got to just be heartbreaking.
Right? What is the moment where you're like, I can still do that? Oh, nope, I guess I can't do that anymore.
So this documentary we've mentioned has limited showings, but it's worth it. It's worth to take the drive to watch this. Maybe, if it's one showing with a Q&A, maybe that's the reason you want to go. Or maybe it's just to experience this person's incredible life, because there are stories in there that just absolutely floor you. They absolutely do.
So many surprises.
That's a good point. There are so many surprises.
You don't know what to expect.
And there's so much like that you can think about that you're like, oh, well, we know that, women can play these parts right now. We know that they can play strong, independent, but you didn't know that Sally Rogers from the Dick Van Dyke Show is the reason. And it is. And she is the reason. Before that, if you think about the June Cleavers of the world that were on Leave It to Beaver, there were the semi-doting wives. They weren't hardcore.
Yeah.
They had their...
Even Lucille Ball, who
Right,
was
yes.
the powerhouse of women in Hollywood, even she played a housewife.
She played a housewife. She played someone
Even when
who would
in
listen.
real life, she had her own production company.
And she was like the woman CEO.
But even she just played a housewife.
Right. But here is Rosemary playing one of the guys. Like that right there, that's a step forward that nobody thought of that about. They actually, someone in the audience asked Dave Van Dyke, did you know what you were doing at the time? Did you think Sally Rogers would be something? And he said, no, this wasn't something that we were thinking about. This was just, this is how they set up the characters. They wanted a good balance in the team. So they brought in Rosemary for the part, and it ended up creating a moment in time that would change everything. Like, I think that's the craziest part, is that all of her life basically made a big impact on everything else.
And you wouldn't even know it.
Right.
I hadn't even watched Dick Van Dyke until all of it went up on
Exactly.
Netflix like 6 months ago.
That's the thing. Like, I really, 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 really hope, and if this production team is listening, I really hope it comes up on like Hulu or Netflix or even Amazon. It doesn't have to be free. It can be on Amazon. It needs to be. It has to be.
It does need to be widely distributed.
Yes. Like, this needs to be more than just limited showings and people driving out 4 or 5 hours, nearly peeing themselves on the 405. This needs to be people nearly peeing themselves in their own living room because it is that good. It is really that good. I know we might be sounding like we're shilling it. We're not shilling it. I mean, we're not being paid to do this. It's literally such a passion project that I have such a connection with it. I have a background in film. Celeste and I both do, to different degrees.
I have a background in film due to Leonard.
Exactly. So I can see when there is passion. And when a woman's life matches that passion, when someone's life matches the passion of the filmmaker, like they were able to sit, have conversations, create a relationship, and now this film is there for you to marvel at. It needs to be seen. There are few that do that. There are few that light a fire in me to say, hey, we need to do something about this because this is so far outside of our realm, people. Of the other episodes we've done, it's always been streaming services. It's been, hey, look at this weird film about Tokyo tribes.
And look at this other weird film. And here's another one.
And here's a musical for you. No, this is more than that. This is something that should be seen, that should be talked about, and that should be shown in schools. When a filmmaker makes a film that I think needs to be shown in a school, in a filmmaking school.
We sat through many of those.
Yes, we did. Oh my God, so many bad ones. Nanook. And to anyone who says Nanook is good, you are wrong.
You are wrong, sir.
Yes, or madam.
Or
madam.
they.
But whenever I say, I mean that. This needs to be shown. This needs to be seen. So definitely go and see it. If I'm going to give it any kind of rating, it's going to be 50 Goldblums out of a possible 10 Goldblums, which should show you it's 5 times above the Goldblum limit there.
Because it's Rosemary.
It's freaking Rosemary, which, come on now. What'd you think, Celeste? Where you going
I
with?
loved it. I loved it so much. I don't even know if I can rate it. I feel like it rises above because
Right?
we watch a lot of documentaries.
We do. We're a little biased in that sense.
Most of them are forgettable.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. They are forgettable. But when you're sitting in a movie, maybe it was also the setting a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
We were in the Egyptian theater.
This is where like some of the biggest stars of the early film days have sat and like had their premieres. So obviously I was in reverence of the whole thing. But beyond that, I was going, this is perfect. This is incredible.
And it's just a combination of things. It was her life, the filmmakers.
Oh, I have to say this.
What?
Because I believe it was either the director or someone, or Dan Harmon who said it. It's very few times that you can do a documentary with the person still alive.
I think that was, well, now I don't remember.
I think it was a little bit of a combination of both. Because here's the thing. Here is a woman who still out there, still going, still wanting to perform, still watching her
basically
stuff.
has a film museum.
Right.
In her not even a film, a performance museum.
Like, you
That's
could
the only way to
apparently-
describe it.
Apparently, you could like dig through something and find a telegram for like Frank Sinatra or Milton Berle or Doris Day or Rosemary Clooney. Like you just oh, look at this, what's that? Oh, it's from James Cagney. Oh, okay, well, this is worth a lot. But it's so few times that you can do a documentary. The subject of the documentary is alive, and they have this amazing history. One of the few vaudevillians still alive.
Yeah, isn't she like one of two or something?
One of two, one of three, something like that. Something crazy and insane.
She's still here, still kicking. She still wants to work.
And she can tell you about it because this woman is still as sharp as a freaking tack and has no problem telling you.
She's still so feisty.
So feisty. One of the stories that the director told was about the bow. So she basically told him, the one thing that I will not talk about is my bow. I'm not going to talk about it, so don't ask. Well, they went to go and do another interview, and the guy was like, I'm going to tell you about the bow. So it tells the whole thing about Bobby Guy and how much she loved him, and when he passed away, she decided she was going to wear only a black bow in her hair. So he calls up Rosemary and is like, so-and-so told me about the bow. And they just pause and then, well, shit. It's out there. It's like, fantastic response. Well done. That's an Oscar.
You just won it. I'm going to nominate you right now.
But, it's so amazing, incredible. I can't say that enough. I've said it maybe a billion times.
You've said it probably
So much. Too nauseum.
But not enough still.
Oh, man. And I was making, before we actually started, I was talking about, the comparison to another documentary. And the only one that comes close to it is, damn it, Alina. And the only one that it comes up to is, good God. I can't do anything about it because it's on the computer. It's not my phone. So if it was my phone, it would be Jesus from South Park. So the only comparison I can make is Batman and Bill, which is a heartbreaking story on Hulu to go watch. It's a streaming documentary. Come on now.
You have to open it and then it stops.
No, I refuse. She'll stop eventually.
No, I think it won't stop
It'll
until
stop,
you open
damn
it.
It'll stop.
I don't think it will.
She just has to stop texting. That's all that has to happen. Alina, if you're listening, stop. This will be many, many days past, but I don't care. Anyways, so Batman and Bill. It's about Bill Finger, one of the original creators of Batman, and how he got no credit from Bob Kane, and just the heartbreaking story of how in this respect, it's different because he was long dead. His family was trying to get rights, at least just to get his name on the books, because Bob Kane never would really allow it. And it was such an incredible journey that makes you want to cry. Because
I did cry.
Oh yeah, I did too. But here's Bill Finger dying in poverty and obscurity, and they find his body later in his apartment. Like, this is the man that created the look for Batman and the Joker and all of his major crime boss guys, like all the villains.
Help create their universe.
It's an insane story. Definitely go and watch that, Batman and Bill, but it doesn't compare to the life of Rosemary.
He did one thing.
She did everything.
many.
So, all right. I think we've gushed enough. I feel like we gushed a lot more.
The fangirl is out.
Yeah. So, little bit of, I guess, kind of house cleaning on it. A little bit of the background on this. So, obviously, it's directed by Jason Wise, written by Christina Tucker and Jason Wise, as well as I had them written down at one point. All the people involved, but also I think this says Christina Tucker. But I think this is supposed to be Christina Wise.
You don't know
His
that she.
Well, his
has
wife was involved in
name. Strong Independent Women, Leonard.
Yeah, it says it on their Twitter page.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Professionally, people keep their maiden names.
Oh Lord, we're gonna get down that. You just don't want to go down to the office.
I hate the DMV.
I know. But so Jason Wise basically produced, wrote, interviewed, talked to, did everything, got denied by a billion people for interviews, but still kept pushing forward.
That's okay. You got Dick Van Dyke, you got Dan Harmon.
Right? You don't need much else.
Only because you couldn't have Tina Fey.
What was Dan Harmon's role in this? Just
I feel like
himself.
I feel like he was the comedy writer.
That makes sense. So yeah, so far has grossed 18,000 domestic, but again, like we said, it's limited release. I just saw on their feeds that they're going to be opening in DC, Palm Springs, Pittsburgh, and now Santa Rosa, California, as well as I'm not sure if they're going to have any more in LA, San Francisco area. But definitely check it out. Head over to waitforyourlaugh.com/showtimes.htm and see if there's anything in your area
Or
to go and
keep
watch.
tabs on Rosemary's Twitter.
She has a Twitter.
That's how I found out about it.
Yes, that is how she found out about it.
We found out about it from Rosemary's Twitter.
And it's incredible, and she's incredible.
She's very active on it.
And if you go and watch some of the showings, there are Q&As afterwards, whether it's with Rosemary, her daughter. I think that's pretty much what's left in terms of Q&As, but just go watch it. Like you don't need the Q&A as much as you need just to see this movie. So please, for the love of God, watch this movie.
Go do the thing.
So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another weird and kind of all over the place director review.
But which of our shows aren't that way?
Exactly. So you just
What
get an
can you
experience.
expect?
You got an experience. We got an experience together. So you're welcome, world. You're welcome. So on behalf of myself, my beautiful wife, Celeste.
Heyo.
And, of course, Trevor, wherever the hell he is. And Alina on my phone. Thanks, Alina. We hope that you have a wonderful whatever time of the day it is where you are. And don't forget to keep on streaming and go see this movie wherever you possibly can. See you later.
Doodles.